Things keep getting crazier as following a brutal loss against the Florida Panthers. Fans, the media, everyone is still outraged over what continues to happen to the Toronto Maple Leafs team. We're going to break down exactly what that is and discuss what it means going forward as following a near suspension for Sam Bennett. It hasn't stopped and things keep getting crazier. We also have some comments from Craig Berube and others following a brutal loss against the Panthers, as well as some comments from Joseph Wall himself regarding what he needs to do going forward in order to improve in tomorrow's game. Very quick turnaround. But before we get into it, folks, if you're part of the 70% who aren't subscribed to the channel, we're on the road to 18,000 subscribers. It's just around the corner. Obviously, last night was absolutely brutal. It was devastating, whatever you want to call it. But we're on to the next now. Tomorrow's game is going to be the biggest game of the year. Each game at this point is that. Darius, a lot to go over today, and obviously we're going to be talking about the game, but I want to bring up something that continues to happen because it's at a point now where not only are things ridiculous, not only are things getting out of hand, we're going to, of course, talk about the game and things like that, but the amount of physicality is leading to the point now where people are starting to either notice or just turn a blind eye if you're a Florida Panthers fan. And we want to dive into a few different instances here of, refereeing, which was fine yesterday overall. But it's at a point now, Darius, where Florida continues, and this is not why they necessarily, this is not why the Leafs lost the game, but they continue to go for heads of the Toronto Maple Leafs. I want to dive into this point specifically. They talked about it on the panel a little bit. Evan Rodriguez jumps and goes for a direct headshot on John Tavares. This is way worse than the Lawton hit on Rodriguez last game. No call on the play. I'm not going to harp too much on the call, lack of call. It is what it is. I don't want to talk about the reffing. It's not why the Leafs lost the game. However, the continued attempt to what seemingly is injure, especially by, not necessarily in this case, but the fourth line that, Paul Maurice put out last game. I think Kevin Bieksa literally called them a bunch of goons or whatever the exact word was. I want to get your thoughts on this, and as well as your guys down in the comment section. Just constant hits, a clear hit to the head, and whether or not he hit him, which he did, the intent here, there's just so many attempts to injure. You see there directly to the head, and you pair this with what we saw, of course, the infamous hit there. It's at a point where I've kind of had enough of the actual attempt to injure. And again, I'm not going to let it, get to me. The Leafs are still up 2-1, but it needs to be addressed here, and it keeps getting crazier for the Leafs and, of course, teams around the NHL as well.
I believe the term he used was meatheads. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I do want to say off the top, because I have noticed a lot of people like to comment a little too early that the Leafs did not lose last night's game because of the officiating. They didn't, right? It was a close game, and honestly, the officiating in this series, you could say it's been bad. Honestly, I don't even think it's been that bad, and it goes both ways for both teams. It's not the reason that they lost, but this is a trend that is continuing throughout the whole series, and not just this series. This is who the Florida Panthers are. Matthew Nyes 2 years ago got concussed from, Sam Bennett because of a dirty play. And then this year, obviously, Anthony Stolarz is taken out in the same way. Then this head hit yesterday. We're starting to pay attention to these things because we made a video, yesterday about how some of these things are flying under the radar. We're seeing it all now. And there was a couple other instances in this game. I mean, Marchand's flying around jumping into hits. I noticed that throughout the game as well. And Rodriguez, jumped into this one, and it's a head hit. It wasn't that bad because obviously Tavares wasn't leaning over at this point in the hit, but this could have been really dangerous. He flies right in with the elbow right to the head. Doesn't connect, so obviously nothing's going to come of it. But nicks him a little bit, but it's just a dangerous play. But this is who they are. This is their motive, right? This is who they are as a team. They're a dirty team, and it's okay. Like, it wins them games and it wins them the Stanley Cup. Panthers fans can be proud of that, right? But this is who they are. They're a dirty team. Now, on the Toronto Maple Leafs side of things, obviously they've been playing well. It's still a 2-1 series. They went to overtime yesterday. A couple bad goals for both teams, right? And you'd like some better goaltending, I think, on both sides, but obviously for the Toronto Maple Leafs side as well. But they've been keeping things very calm. They've been keeping their composure. I like it. A lot of people are asking why the Leafs aren't retaliating. If the Leafs retaliate to these things, they're going to get penalties. They absolutely are going to get penalties. We know how the officiating, how this league works at this point. If they retaliate in any way, they're going to get a penalty. So they're all automatically at a disadvantage, right, in that way. Now, game is game recognized game, right? The Leafs are going to have to continue to play their game. And I thought they got back to it at times in last night's game, but they have to get back to it in game 4. And I think they're going to. I think obviously they're still up in this series. They look good. They had the Florida Panthers on their heels at points last night as well. So there is still some positives to pull out of this, but this is a thing that is definitely happening. And I think it's way more noticeable now because they're playing the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, the Leafs obviously, they need to adjust, and whether that's, they were mentioning Chris Tanev trying to take less hits, like, it's not going to, Berube is not going to tell them to go out and do what the Panthers are doing. It's not their game. It clearly is Paul Maurice's MO. He shuffled up the fourth line to put a bunch of what you call, or Bieksa call meatheads on that line to go out and not hurt, but really, test the limits. We're seeing it on, the fourth line, first line, second line, third line, the whole way through. And gets frustrating after a while. Let us know down below if you think this is something that needs to be, addressed by the NHL, or if there's going to keep let it happening. We've seen it in the past. They're not going to do anything, especially with the relations between the DOPS, the DOPS, and the Florida Panthers. We'll leave that there. But let's touch on the game a little bit. It was a very unlucky game. You can see this here. Talk about a night to forget about for Morgan Rielly. Awful luck. Can't do anything about it. First one, he tries to obviously clear the centering attempt. Maybe did it a bit too hard and hits it in. The goal, of course, the end of the game, which is giving me nightmares. Brad Marchand of all people. I actually think he played, did his job defensively. Kind of took the man in front out of the play, but in the process, took a shot that was probably missing the net and made it go in. Either way, the Leafs had their opportunities in overtime, but they need to lock in now. Joseph Woll spoke out about that. He said, shake it off. Bounces go both ways in hockey. It came out on the wrong side. We're doing a good job all year sticking to our process. That's what we fall back on. And Joseph Woll is going to be the biggest story here. And also, the Leafs got lucky with one of their goals to tie the game. Hit off of, I forget who it was, but hit off of the Florida Panther. Obviously, saved by Borowski. Seth Jones off of Borowski with a pad save into Seth Jones' leg and went in. So it went both ways, but it is what it is. It sucks to have it happen twice, especially in overtime. Joseph Woll, I want to get your thoughts on this. Obviously, and those wondering, Tanev did leave the game for equipment reasons, not injuries, like a ton of people were speculating, including the panel and myself included. He came back. He looked good. Joseph Woll, he needs to be better, though I don't necessarily blame him for the loss. There was a couple there that I think the big difference in him and Stolarz is in a game like this where you're up 3-1, I think Stolarz, makes a big save or maybe even saves the Rielly tip, which I'm not blaming on Joseph Woll, but is maybe just a little bit more calm under pressure to save one of those goals, which ultimately changes the game completely. I think that was the difference in yesterday's game, and I'm sure Woll knows it, but for him, his attitude needs to remain the same. Just unlucky. If he wants to say that they were fully unlucky, go for it. Whatever makes him a better goaltender in tomorrow's game. He was a lot of unluckiness. That being said, he can also do a better job, especially on the fourth goal.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just put your head down, forget about it, move on to the next game, because I don't think Joseph Woll was bad last night. I don't. Could he be better? Absolutely. He can raise his game for sure. And we've seen it, right? And, in the first period, he was fine, right? Second period is not a good period for the team, not a good period for him. He locked in the rest of the game. He made some big saves, some timely saves. He looked sturdy in the net. Like, I wasn't getting nervous when shots were coming in. And obviously the overtime winner, like, it's just it's bad luck, right? It goes off Rielly and it goes in, and a couple off Rielly, but honestly, a lot of people are going to, be dogging on him today and all of this and saying that it was his fault. He played a good game. He really did. He had a goal, and he was great in transition. He was jumping in the right times. He was making great defensive plays, diving plays, great plays with his stick. So I thought he had a really strong game, and things like this happen in the playoffs sometimes. It's going to bounce off your leg and go in. You can't expect to win or lose every game clean. It's not going to happen in the playoffs. So they just got to get back to work tomorrow, continue to do the things they're doing. One thing they have to clean up, and we're probably going to have another video on this, Nick, is the Florida Panthers are doing something very specific with their forecheck, and I'll tease this for another video we're going to do, that the Leafs have to zone in on for the next game, because it absolutely killed them in Game 3, whereas it wasn't really killing them in the first two games, but the Florida Panthers found something that's working and is absolutely killing the Leafs. So again, we're going to have another video on that, breaking that down, but has to do with the second period and the long change. I'll just leave it at that, but they are getting exposed in that way. So I know Berube and the coaching staff are going to put attention to detail on that, and they're probably going to lock in for Game 4. But there's a few things to clean up, but I thought it was an okay game.
Yeah, also has to do with Joseph Woll's puck handling a little bit, which was a little bit lackluster.
Yes.
A few other things. Tanev, again, left because of equipment reasons. Berube said Woll was fine, minus the fourth goal, which you could argue. Again, I'm much higher on Stolarz, and that's a big question now. What is health looking like? I highly doubt he plays in tomorrow's game. And Matt Murray was sick. That led to Dennis Hill to be backing up, so we assume on Sunday Matt Murray's going to be good to go. But ladies and gentlemen, let us know down below what your thoughts are on this. And it's going to be a very interesting next few days. But tomorrow, that's the focus right now. And if they don't take care of business, I'm sure Toronto's going to be in a full-on frenzy. So let us know what your thoughts are on all of this, and also what your thoughts are on the dirty hit of the dirty hits by the Panthers on the Toronto Maple Leafs that seemingly is never going to stop. You guys are beast. Thank you guys very much for watching. See you later.